Okay, does anybody have any idea what's going on in the world today? I just assume that someone in the ministry started. What's happening in the news?
Russia got into Syria, and they're going to take over Syria. That's the whole gist of it, and it's all against Obama's conditions, you know, and you know, that's just basic. I don't know the whole issue of it, but that's a big thing going on now, and it doesn't look very good for us and for Obama, our leader. So it's a bit scary, you know. And they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Who is they?
Russia.
They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing?
No,
why not?
They're supposed to be. Apparently, they're supposed to be going against ISIS. And they were bombing the people in Syria. Well, I'm not getting the whole thing right, but something about bombing the people in Syria. The rebels that we were supposed to back. It's something to that point.
Yes, they're bombing the rebels that we back. That's correct. Okay. Anybody else have anything to say about this?
Putin lied, he acknowledged that he lied. He's coming in to get he's not coming against ISIS, he's coming against the people. He wants to take over.
He's coming against the people. He's bombing the citizens of Syria. Who is he bombing?
If you're asking me specific, I can't give you that.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm probably the only person that agreed with Michael Savage, and I want to tell you that you're all, in my opinion, you're all polluted by the news media. I guess you get your information from the news media. Listen, Russia is bombing the rebels, okay, who happen to be backed by America. But what is the goal? First of all, he's not bombing the citizens of Syria, okay? It's my understanding that there's a community, there's a Jewish and a Christian community in Syria that's being protected by Assad, okay? The rebels want to, Assad is the name of the dictator of Syria, and we want to take him down. America wants to take Assad down. Why do we want to take Assad down? Why did we take Gaddafi of Libya down? Why did we take Mubarak of Egypt down? What are we doing in the Middle East deposing dictators? We took Gaddafi down. Libya is in chaos today. We took Mubarak down. The Muslim Brotherhood took over. The rebels that we support are Al-Qaeda. They've just taken a new name. What are we doing in the Middle East supporting Al-Qaeda? And why do we want to take Assad down? Russia has an interest in the Middle East. Russia has a port in the Middle East. He's been a long-time ally of Syria. Russia has been a long-time ally of Syria. Russia has a military port in Syria. They're protecting their own interests. So we are now supporting Al-Qaeda, arming them, and encouraging them to take out a dictator that's protecting the Christians and the Jews, so that when ISIS gets in there, okay, when the rebels get in there, so that they can behead the Christians and the Jews. Now, brethren, we all have to wake up. You have to break the programming on your mind, because nothing is as it appears. And America is not the America that it was. Okay? So this is my understanding. The rebels, Putin is bombing the rebels. He's not bombing ISIS, but he's bombing what we call moderate rebels, whose goal is to destroy Assad. And Putin has told everybody, he's made no secret about it, he will not let Assad be taken down. He said he will not let Assad be taken. He said it from the UN, he said it publicly, it's been in the news. He will not let Assad be taken down. He is supporting Assad. question, and the reason he's supporting Assad is that Russia has a port in Syria. What are we doing there? What are we doing there? So, he said he's going to take out ISIS. Well, he didn't take out ISIS yet. There were different sets of rebels there, but the rebels all have one thing in common. They want to take out Assad. And President Obama has been lying to us. We have not been fighting against ISIS. Do you really believe that we couldn't take ISIS out in a whole year? In a whole year we couldn't take... Do you know that they are expanded to the point that they now control an area of land greater than England? They're growing. ISIS is growing. What are we doing there? We're arming them. We're arming ISIS. That's what Benghazi was all about. We were shipping arms to ISIS, and it was a big secret, because how do you tell the American people we're arming Al-Qaeda in the Middle East? So this is the dynamic, brethren. You need to hear this. Russia has business in the Middle East. He has a port. Russia has a port that's been there for years. They are an ally of Assad. America has no business there at all. But we're a part of a coalition of Muslim states that want to take Assad out. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Qatar, all want to take Assad out. Why do they want to take Assad out? Does anyone have any idea why Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Jordan would want to take Assad out? Does anyone have a clue? No one has a clue. Brother, there are two kinds of Arabs in the Middle East, and they've been killing each other for centuries. One type is called Sunni, the other type is called Shia, and they've been killing each other for centuries. Saudi Arabia is Sunni. The Muslim Brotherhood is Sunni. Jordan is Sunni. Qatar is Sunni. What do you think Assad is? Guess. Shia. What are we doing there? Now, Israel's in this mix, too. So this is the coalition. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, I think there's another one, and Israel, and the United States. What are we doing there? How come ISIS has not bombed Israel? How come they're raiding the whole Middle East, and they haven't even touched Israel? How come? Because they're on the same side. They both want to take out Assad, and Israel has air rights. They have agreements that they can fly their warplanes through Syrian air territory to get to where? Who was Israel afraid of? Who's Israel afraid of? Iran. What do you think Iran is? Sunni or Shia? No. Iran is Shia. The same as Syria. The coalition over there is Russia, China, Iran, and Syria. Shia against Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Qatar. Sunni. And Iraq, with whatever's left of it, there's really nothing left of Iraq. And Israel is in the mix because Israel is really afraid of Iran and wants the air rights, the rights to fly their warplanes through Syria to get to Iran if they have to.
What is Iraq?
I'm sorry?
What is Iraq? Sunni or Shia?
Well, I don't even think there is any more Iraq. Iraq, the majority of people in Iraq are Shia, but Saddam was Sunni. So it was the minority, Arabs ruling the majority. Saddam was Sunni and the majority was Shia. So, and they were very prejudiced. Of course, look, they're all dictatorships in the Middle East. That's the kind of government they have there. You can't force democracy on a people that can't even read or write. So the dictator in Iraq was Sunni, controlling the majority of the people, which was Shias. Then America went in with the Allies and killed Saddam and set up a democratic government and said to the guy in charge, sorry, I can't recall his name, now you need to do a democracy. You need to have both Shia and Sunni representatives. But he didn't want to do it. He said, no, the Sunnis have power. Now the Shiites are going to have power. And he persecuted the Sunnis. Anybody not following me? Guess what ISIS is? Guess what ISIS is? ISIS is Sunni. ISIS came into existence because of the persecution of the Shia Iraqis against the Sunni. ISIS rose up to take back their power because the Shias in power were greatly mistreating the Sunnis. I don't know the details. So they didn't take our word for it. They didn't take America's counsel and set up a government that would give power to the defeated Sunnis. They said, no, you're defeated, now you stay down there. Now we're in power. And that went on for a few years. As soon as Obama pulled our troops out, Saddam's loyalists rose up, took the name ISIS, and started attacking the Shia government in Iraq, and they've decimated it. So the only one that has a right to be there is Russia. Israel's there with a very, very personal agenda. They're scared of Iran. And they're trying to take out Assad because they're scared of Iran. So that's very personal. It has nothing to do with what's best for the world. So Putin came in and he said, I'm going to take out ISIS. Well, he will. But before he did that, he's taking out the rebels on the ground. It's like me saying I'm coming in with a wrecking ball, I'm going to demolish this unit of this condominium. And I come in, and I go into the 9x12 room over there, and I wreck that. Did I break my word, or do you not have to give me time to do the other rooms? We're talking about military strategy. Before you take out ISIS, you have to take out the people that are going to defend ISIS. Now, I wish I understood it more, but I don't. There are what we call, look, ISIS are rebels trying to take out Assad. Then there are these other rebels that are not fighting ISIS. There's another group of moderate rebels that are supported by the CIA. They're not fighting ISIS. They have the same goal as ISIS. They want to take out Assad. There's two groups that want to take out Assad, ISIS, and these so-called moderate rebels. And we're friends with one of them, and although we're really friends with both of them, but we're lying and saying that that ISIS is our enemy, but we're friends with the other rebels. But they're both doing the same thing. They both want to take down Assad. And Putin said, you can't take down Assad. So in Putin's mind, when he said, I'm going to take out ISIS, and he hit the other rebels first, that wasn't a lie. They both have the same goal. Putin said you can't take out Assad. And he decided to hit for whatever military reason, to hit, I'm not too sure about this, but my understanding is that the rebels that he hit, they have the boots on the ground, or they're in a strategic position that if he hit ISIS first, the other rebel group would be attacking the Russian soldiers. So he's taking out the easier target first. He took out the easiest targets first. He's going to take out ISIS. Why would he lie? He has said you cannot take down Assad. He won't take out ISIS. He's just going to take out both of them.
So you're saying it's a religious war with the Sunnis and the Shiites? It's not against the Christians per se?
No, it's not.
And the Sunnis and the Shiites, they both have Allah?
Yes, they're both Muslims.
No, one believes some kind of a Mahdi's coming, I understand. Yes. But what is the difference?
Well, I can only give you a general idea. One of them believes that that the Mahdi is going to come in the midst of World War III, so they actually want to start a World War III because they think he'll show up. And the others don't. But Assad is not even a religious Muslim. Do you know that Saddam Hussein was not a religious Muslim? He was a secular Muslim. Mubarak was a secular. Obama is taking down all the secular Muslims. Gaddafi was a secular Muslim. Mubarak was a secular Muslim. And Assad is a secular Muslim. He's a medical doctor. He came to be dictator because the government in that nation goes from father to son. And his father was too old. He didn't even want it. His older brother was supposed to become dictator, and his brother was killed. So they called him back from his academic studies, and he took up the reins of power. He's a secular. So Obama, who was a Muslim Brotherhood guy, Muslim Brotherhood is all through our government, which is Sunni, is taking down all of the secular leadership that he can in the Middle East. Why? Because Obama's, at the very least, a sympathizer of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is Sunni, which wants to rule the whole world. They're the ones that are cutting everybody's head off and putting 8-year-old girls into brothels, the Sunnis. And that's who we're supporting. That's what Benghazi was all about. And you all need to know that we're not the America of 10 or 15 years ago. Got to break the programming on your mind, brethren, and you have to serve God. See? So the minute those rebels take down Assad, they're going to destroy the Christian and the Jewish community that Assad is protecting. They're going to cut their heads off and murder them all.
So Israel has to know this.
Yes, they do.
And so what will their...
Nothing is like it seems. Israel is terrified of Iran. So they're willing to sacrifice the Jews in Syria to get Iran. See, Syria and Iran are contiguous. They touch each other. Israel needs to fly across Syrian airspace to attack Iran. Assad.
Syria is north of Israel. And Iran is west.
I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to relate to that without matter. Israel wants the privilege of flying across Syrian airspace to hit Iran if they have to. So what are we doing there? So I'm not even talking about Israel's motives right now. Collateral damage. They're giving up the Jewish community in Syria. They want Assad out. So they have an agreement with ISIL. Why is ISIL not attacking Israel? They have an agreement to take out Assad, and when they win, they're going to let Israel fly across their airspace. Want me to say that again?
Yeah.
Israel has an agreement with ISIS, ISIL, same thing. Mm-hmm. That when they take Assad out and ISIS is in control, that Israel is helping ISIS to take Assad down. When ISIL takes control of Syria, they will let Israeli fighter jets fly through their airspace to attack Iran. And ISIL doesn't care because Iran is Shia and ISIL is Sunni. And Israel's not afraid of Syria. Israel is afraid of Iran with their atom bomb. So what are we doing over there? So I understand why Israel's over there, and I understand why Russia's over there. What are we doing over there? What are we doing over there? Obama's trying to take out all the secular dictators in the Middle East because he's a Sunni. He's Muslim Brotherhood. He wants the caliphate. And the news, and you can't even trust Fox News anymore, brother.
Where do you get your information from? Because that's the only thing I watch.
Michael Savage.
Never heard of it. I haven't.
Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh has, you know, you have to really pick it out of Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh, he's a very calm guy. He never gets excited, and he has a 3-hour show. So you have to listen to him and get all the details, you know. But Michael Savage, he's very passionate, and whatever's the activity of the moment, you just turn on the show, you get it in the first 15 or 20 minutes. You know. And he's very sincere, in my opinion, very sincere man, and really upset about what's going on in the country. Yeah. I mean, some I got from him, some I already know, but I mean, you have to ask yourself the questions: why is Israel not being attacked by ISIS? He has some very good questions. See, some of the answers I know. But Putin, you know, he said he's going to take ISIS out, he's going to take them out. He's not playing games. He's going to do what he's going to do to preserve the rights of the Russian people, or the best interests of the Russian people. And he wants to lose as few soldiers as possible. So he's killing the ground troops that would run to ISIS's aid when he attacks ISIS. He must have made a decision that ISIS is stronger than this other group of rebels. So you take out the weaker group first, and then you attack ISIS. See, he's not playing games like we play games. What this country does is disgusting. And we play games. He's not playing games. Putin's not playing games. And he's not taking any prisoners. He's going to kill them all on the battlefield. He made complete mincemeat out of Obama and the United Nations. But I have to tell you that I am very excited at Putin, at what Putin's doing. I'm very excited about it. And I believe that, and also if you're interested, Donald Trump said that it's fine, let them take out ISIL. You know, let them do it. You know. And you know, a few people, a couple of people, Michael Savage said, let them take out ISIL. What do we care? We don't have any. Obama has an interest there. We don't have an interest there. You see, two sets of rebels, not fighting each other, both trying to take out Assad. And we're supporting both of them, one openly and one overtly and one covertly. Want to take out Assad. Obama wants Muslim Brotherhood taking over the whole Middle East. He wants the caliphate.
Define the caliphate.
The caliphate is a world dominion, an Islamic world, an Islamic new world, one world order, where you either live under the Muslim law, or you pay a very high tax, or you die. I don't know about Jews, but there was a large Christian population in Egypt before the Muslim Brotherhood came in. They killed a lot of them before they threw them out. Whose side are we on here? What's going on here? And Michael says, and I don't believe he would be saying it if it wasn't true, that there are Christian, Syrian Christians, I don't know how many, but a large number of Syrian Christians sitting in a FEMA camp right now asking for asylum, and Obama's sending them back. He won't let them into the country. Syrian Muslims are pouring into the country. Mexicans are pouring into the country. He won't let the Christians stay. He's sending them back to be killed. You need to understand what's going on in this country. And you need to know that the news is corrupted. And Fox News they have a whole Muslim Brotherhood desk there. They're sold out.
How is the caliphate the New World Order in this United States?
Well, that's very interesting. I've mentioned it in the past. There are all of these forces that want to take over the world. And what they have to do is they have to break the back of the United States to do it, to start with. And then they'll all fight with each other. But they all think they're going to win. And then I think that there are men at the very top that nobody even knows their name, that have all of this on a chessboard. You know, the Muslims are doing this. They know that the ultra-Orthodox Jews are doing this. They know that Obama wants to do that. And there's somebody very, very high up, which is above all national and religious politics. They're just evil entities that just want power. And they're moving all of their pieces on the chessboard.
I find it ironic the name is Isis, like the god, and then Sunai makes me think of the sun god. I can put them together now.
Nothing's simple, see? You have to be very careful. And I'll tell you, it really saddens me, because I would like to just be nationalistic and just love my country and just assume that we're always doing good, but apparently we've been doing evil for a long time. And you know, I was around when all those Vietnam protests were going on, but I was never involved in it. I was not involved beyond my own self-interest. I was very selfish and narcissistic in those days, young women, and not concerned with politics at all. And what were we doing in Vietnam? What were we doing there? All those boys went over and were killed, and so many of them ran away to Canada and left their families. What were we doing over there? Since World War II, we've changed. And it really appears that our CIA is up to really bad business all over the world. I never believed we had an empire. We have an empire. We control it economically. We have troops all over the world. We are an empire. And I see us in the book of Revelation. We've corrupted the whole world. We've had the power to promote our lifestyle, to foist our lifestyle on the whole world, and we're corrupting the whole world. Again, it's not America in the book of Revelation. Well, it's America, and it's the church, depending on what you're reading. So that's what's going on.
How do you see the Catholic Church and the popes coming to the United States?
Did you hear that the Pope secretly went to see that woman in Kentucky?
Yeah.
Why is it a secret? Because he's a liar and a deceiver, and he let everybody think that he's a progressive and that he's all for global warming, and that he didn't say one word about abortion or homosexuality or anything. And when he did support it, he did it secretly. What kind of a man is this? How do I see the Pope with regard to all this? He's just one of the players that's on the chessboard. And there's a higher power that's moving everybody. I think that the Pope wants Jerusalem. I think the Pope has a deal with the elite in Israel to rebuild that temple. And that he plans to take it completely after he needs the Jews to build it. Because they're going to build it according to the scripture. They have it all down pat. And then he's going to kill them if he can to get it. He's going to be the one that's going to sit in the temple, not the Jews. But I think he has a deal with them. And they need to get the Muslims out of Jerusalem. So you can't trust that Pope.
You can see the religious spirits, how they're working, like he did a big hope-to-do about Mary and all that, because it's rumored that he's had apparitions of Mary coming to him, so he's a spirit guide.
I haven't heard that. But you can't, brother, the bottom line is that you can't believe anybody, what they say. You have to find someone that you trust, and then you even pray about that. I mean, right now, Michael Savage is the main person I'm listening to, then I go into Rush for a little while. But I just find him to be extremely honest and very intuitive. I think he knows what he's talking about. He has a new book coming out. The ministry has purchased it. So if you want to take a look at it, it's supposed to have all of this stuff in it. He talks about all of the generals that have been fired or put out of the military to weaken the military. And he claims that the country's been corrupted, that there has been a coup, and that America as we know it doesn't even exist anymore. It's just an illusion Like you pull the foundation out and the house is still standing and you just watch it until it all collapses. So he says that we've had a complete coup.
This John Boehner, it's rumored that he's a Jesuit.
I don't know who told you that, Mary. The
It was
first one.
rumored, like it's, you hear it on TV, different things.
On TV or from one of the emails that you get? Because
No,
I
it
don't
was
trust
on
the
TV.
source of the emails that you get. It was on TV.
though.
I don't know.
I don't know whether it was a slip or something, but it was never mentioned again.
I don't know. But I'm really glad he's going. He was a terrible disappointment. And Mitch McConnell next, we're told.
They said his mission was to get the poll off here. And he's done that, now he's retiring.
Anything's possible. See, a country cannot stand unless the people put the country first. And I have to give Michael Savage credit. He's Jewish. He says, I want you all to know that I support Israel. He said, I support Israel, but not what they're doing here with regard to Syria. He said he thinks that they're making a mistake. He supports Israel, but America comes first. And he thinks that Israel is making a mistake, that they're doing it out of fear. And he said that this is Michael Savage saying that Israel has put their, he said they're a very small country. They can never take out Russia, you know. He says they're a very small country, but they put their personal best interest above the interest of the world, because it's not good for the world to take out Assad, and for the caliphate to come into existence is not good for the world. So this is what Michael Savage says, that this one small nation put their national interests ahead of the best interests of the whole world by taking out a secular Muslim and replacing him with a radical Shia Muslim that wants to chop everybody's head off that doesn't agree with them. That's Michael's opinion.
How do you define a secular Muslim?
He doesn't practice, yeah, I mean, maybe it's like a Christian who goes to church on Christmas and Easter.
But they have to have some belief in, being a Muslim,
Yeah,
like
but-
supposedly Christians have a belief in it. Yeah.
It was talked about Russia being now being the biggest power in the world.
Well, I don't know that they're the biggest power. I mean,
They're aiming for it. That's
well, he
what
wants to reestablish the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. He wants to reinstitute that. You see, the danger of what's going on in the Middle East right now is that Russia's warplanes can attack our warplanes. That's the great danger. Russia told us, get your planes out of the way. They warned us, get your planes out of the way, and Obama went and played golf. And now the danger is a conflict between Russia and America. That's the danger. And I don't think we would win because we don't have the guts. Everybody's all confused. Russia is focused. They may not have the technology that we have. They may not have the sophistication that we have. But they have a strong national focus. They know what they're doing. They know why they're there. They know what this is all about. We're all mixed up. Obama just shut down a plant that could make an atomic bomb. He's getting rid of all of our weapons. The military is in a disarray. If you rescue someone, a 12-year-old boy that's being raped, you get put out of the military. It's insane.
That's insane.
This country is in a state of insanity. And what I believe is that the fail-safes that God put into place in this country to protect us from what's happening, they're failing. The balance of powers is failing. The Congress has failed. The president's overreaching. The Congress has failed. The Supreme Court has failed. The country is collapsing from within. The media has taken over. The pushback, the resistance to what's happening doesn't exist, so God's bringing it in from outside of the country. And I'm watching Putin very carefully. I'm not saying he's a good guy. Putin is Putin, you know. None of these guys are good guys. Obama's not a good guy. No, none of them are good guys. But they all have an agenda, and they all have a purpose, and we need to find out which is God's purpose. Don't make a mistake. Remember, God used Nebuchadnezzar to take out Judah. Okay? Don't be mistaken about this, and don't be on the wrong side. Don't be on the wrong side. So that was the word that came into my heart yesterday. That is, the Lord brought Nebuchadnezzar against Judah. It was God that brought Putin into this situation. because the whole world is threatened by this caliphate, and all the Christians and Jews are threatened with this caliphate, and America's on the wrong side of history, and he raised up someone else. He raised up someone else, and Obama, Putin is more righteous than Obama in this situation. And the bottom line is, Putin said, I don't know what you said he lied. I don't know what you heard about he said that he lied. I don't know about that. I didn't hear anything. But it doesn't matter if he lied. What does it matter if he lied? Brother, this country is so politically correct. When your life is in danger, I'm not promoting lying. Please understand what I'm saying. He's fighting for Russia. He's fighting for his rights. He's a politician. Politicians lie. What if he lied? What he's saying is, get out of Syria, because if you don't get out, I'm going to force you out. I'm going to kill everybody that's on the ground that's not pro-Assad. So I'm warning you, get out. You don't like it, it's tough. And I'm going to do it on Monday. And Monday came, and he didn't do what we thought he said he was going to do. So he lied. Now, I don't really think that's what happened. This is a parable. So he lied. So he lied. The man is the strong man in the world today. He said, I don't care what you think. I don't care what the UN thinks. I don't care anything about you. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. You stop me. That is what he said to America. I'm going to do what I want to do. If I told you I'm going to take out ISIS, and today I decided to take out this other group first, so I lied. Stop me. You stop me. And Obama went to play golf. And Kerry's up there saying, well, we had a little misunderstanding, we're going to work it out that we should understand each other. And Putin says, you get those planes off the ground, we're going to blow them out of the sky. You get those American planes off the ground, we're going to blow them out of the sky. We're not playing. America's playing a game. They're not playing a game. Very serious.
So they have the power now.
I don't know if they have the power, but they have the will. I don't know how weak we are. What I'm telling you is I don't know how weak we are. We have all the bombs, and who's got their finger on the trigger? People that aren't even competent to be in the office. But they have the job because they're gay. That's the reason they have the job. So I don't know.
What?
I said our whole military is in disarray. There are people that have high offices because they're gay, not because they know how to do the job.
Oh, I was thinking because the ones in Muslim that were in this.
Because they were Muslim, or they were gay, or there was something. So I don't know what we're capable of doing, but we don't have the will or the focus that Russia has, and I think if it came to a conflict, we would lose. And it's not just Russia. There's an axis there. There's a coalition there. Iran, Russia, China, and Syria. They say, you can't go any further. And I think it's God saying you can't go any further. And I couldn't raise up anyone in the United States to do what needs to be done, so I went outside of the United States. I believe that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. Now, Putin, he's not a good man. Assad is not a good man. They're all rotten dictators, you know. So which one? You have to find out which rotten dictator you're going to align yourself with for your national best interest. Except we don't have any more national best interest. Our national best interest is for the caliphate. And only 29% of the Americans think that he's a Muslim. It's amazing. Because they probably don't even read the news. So the problem with Putin is he's ambitious, and his goal is to restore the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And what the problem with that is that when that union broke up, all of those states there became independent countries. So to restore the Union, he has to deprive these other states of their sovereignty. And who's going to stop him? What he's saying is, who's going to stop me? You're going to stop me? Who's going to stop me? He controls the gas that flows into Europe. He has a lot of power over Europe. He controls the gas lines. And now, by linking up with Syria, he's going to be having a lot to say about the oil. He's really moving, see? The world will not tolerate a power vacuum. We have abdicated our role, and Russia has stepped into it. I mean, if it has to be, we're better off with Russia than the caliphate. I don't know. I never heard of Russia chopping the heads off of people. No. Pretty much says, if you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. I mean, he has political enemies, but these ISIS, they're not your political enemies. They just go into town, they're just killing everybody because of what their religion is. And forcing you to have their religion. I don't see that happening in Russia today. I see him threatening these other little countries that he wants to control them again. But I don't see him threatening to chop their heads off if they don't become his religion. So those are the only two choices that we have. I'll take him. I don't know what God's going to do, and I'm just really excited about this whole move. And the reason that I'm excited is that I see God moving in it in a way that I never anticipated, and it's very strong on me. The Lord opposes chaos, and He's given this country 6 years, almost 7 years. Well, we didn't see what He was doing at the beginning, but we've had at least 4 or 5 years to stop this maniac, and the government's failing, all the checks and balances are failing, the people are completely seduced, maybe 75% of them, or even 50% of them seduced. The country's being destroyed, and God has raised up Russia to stop the chaos in the Middle East. I'm convinced of it.
We've been given over to strong delusion. The scripture says, let God be true and every man a liar, every carnal mind lies.
Yeah. And there's still freedom of religion in Russia. There's still some semblance of Christianity over there. These Muslims are insane. So a lot happened in the UN. Obama made a speech. He still will not say Muslim and terrorist in the same sentence. He won't even say terrorist. But Cameron of England, in a very timid way, called him to task. I mean, it's getting to the point that somebody's going to have to upstage this man, who happens to be the president of my country. Okay, but I serve Jesus first, and Jesus is truth. So Cameron from England, if he listened to what Obama said, with all that's going on in the Middle East, he still will not admit that it's a Muslim thing. And Cameron said, so Obama got up there and said something about, well, we shouldn't look at people's religions for what they're doing, something like that. And Cameron said, but we really have to admit that the chaos and I'm reiterating this, the chaos and the danger in the world today, that they're all Muslims. So Obama still won't say it. And so now, if the resistance isn't coming in the country, the people in the UN, our allies in the UN are saying, come on, it's just enough already. See, something's really wrong. And it's our allies that are finding it hardest to face that something is wrong. It's like you're friends with somebody. It's what I talk to you about all the time. God forbid it should be your husband or your wife or your children that should start speaking by spirits like frogs that come out of their mouth. You can't listen to them. So it's hardest for the allies to say, well, something's really wrong with America. But Russia, who stands across from us, who's our enemy, he's seeing more clearly and says, wow, something's really wrong and you can't get away with this, I'm going to stop you. Because, you know, there are a lot of Muslims in Russia, or the area that was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. There's Muslims over there in Chechnya. They have a lot of Muslims over there. So if this caliphate spreads to the whole world, at some point it's going to threaten Russia. So he's going to stop it right here. And not only that, but now this I never heard of before, and I can't repeat the name, but Michael said that there are Muslims that are threatening China. And that's the reason that China's involved. They want to stop the Muslims. And the West isn't doing anything.
It's helping them.
It's helping them. So that's what's going on. So you pray about what I said. If you want to listen to Michael Savage, I listened to him on the internet. He's not easy to listen to. He doesn't have the money that the others have, I think. Well, I listened to him on the internet from 5 to 6, and then he goes off the internet, and it's hard to listen to him. So I get his podcast. If you want to listen to him live, it's hard. I get the whole 3 hours after he finishes. He's 5, 6. He's on from 5 to 7. 5 to 6, I hear him live, and then you have to go. You can't get him on the internet live after 6 o'clock. You have to go on the radio, and I can't find him on the radio. But I get the whole 3-hour show on the internet when he finishes after 7 o'clock. He has a YouTube channel.
When you were talking about the 3 frogs coming out, all I could think is how the strong delusion in our spirit, the soul, body, like in the spirit, that the living God is the God of this world, which he is not. And then in the whole political thing, the things that are happening, and even in our bodies, that we, I'm not phrasing it like I would like to, like it seems in my head, but we've been deceived at every level.
Yes,
Strong delusion everywhere.
Deceived at every
3
level.
devils.
I am so excited that when I heard that about the water on Mars, that I've been delivered enough to say I don't believe that. I think about how I've been mind controlled, that whatever these scientists tell us must be true for my whole life. I never questioned it. So I don't know that I'm fully delivered, but I'm delivered more than I was before. You just can't trust anybody today. And I said something like that the other day. I don't know who I was talking to. I said, I don't believe them. I know who they are. I know who they are. They're all Nazis. I know who they are. And they're lying to us for their own purposes. And they're laughing at us the whole time. So, brethren, I guess I didn't preach on Sophia today. I'm really, really anxious to get back to the Egyptian pantheon. I really didn't want to preach this, but I think I have to finish it. So I'll see what the Lord wants me to do Sunday. I guess I don't have to finish it. I have so many messages I didn't finish. So I didn't even leave myself a half an hour to finish this. It's too late. Hey, does anybody have anything to say about this? Just hold my eyes, okay? Jesus. I'm good. It's 20 after 2, so I'm going to close. Any questions? Questions?
No, I'm just getting back to that dream, and when June said something about Joshua, bring it back, please, Lord. What was it? Oh, that the money symbolizes our spiritual wealth that we have,
Yes.
and that it was very difficult for me to count it out little by little, inch by inch, and that.
That's the doctrine.
But it went to I got 9,000, which he needed, and with 1,000 left over, like it was telling us, he's imparted, like the 9 gifts of the Spirit, he's imparted so much with 1,000 times each time, and he's getting us, he's preparing us.
And maybe that's the
prepared.
10 Sephirot. 1,000 means wisdom. Maybe that's the 10 Sephirot. We're building up,
Sorry.
building up until we're going to go over. Yeah. So I'm very excited about that too. Wow. Or maybe it's even coming from the other side. If Joshua is Jesus, he's getting everything that he needs to cross over to this side because we're waiting for Jesus to come back. It could be either way. But it's good. It's a good dream.
Can I make a comment or a question about
Yes.
a non-political or past session? You was talking about Glenn Beck, and when I was in your office the other day, I just heard the little blurb that he's considering starting a church. Did you hear anything more
No, I
about
think
that?
you mentioned it to me. I didn't hear it.
A Mormon church.
That's
Oh,
what
I
I
don't think
said.
it would be a Mormon church if he does that.
But I wonder if, like you were saying, he had the Mormon, and then he was portraying himself as a Christian. So if he opens this church, will these people just all come in?
Well, what's going to be interesting, what's striking me right now is that if he does do that, I'll see if I can find any information about it. It's like what Oprah Winfrey did. That she got all these people following her and they loved her.
Yeah.
And then she tried to introduce them all to the Course in Miracles, which is completely satanic.
Yeah.
And she didn't make it. Because do you ever hear of Oprah Winfrey? Whoever hears about her anymore, she's like gone. She like destroyed herself.
Right.
But it wouldn't surprise me. Where did you hear that?
On his show, I wasn't sure. It didn't sound like banter. It didn't sound like they were joking around. It sounded like he was considering, and I have to, think about some things. And so he said it out of his own mouth. And I wasn't sure if it was a known thing that I just heard. So,
Or a joke or something.
yeah, but it didn't sound like they were going back and forth joking.
Yeah.
But it could have been.
I mean, it could be that he's going to do that. I mean, you have to realize that now he's been exposed to me. I know I don't know how he started out, but right now he's an enemy of God right now, as far as I'm concerned. There has to be an agenda, even if he wasn't aware of it when he first started out. And I told you, for him to have the success that he had, there has to be a spiritual power behind him. So what's the end game?
Yeah.
What is the end game?
Yeah.
To take out the Christians, to take out the born-again Christians. So how is he going to do that? Start his own church? Oprah didn't get away with it. We'll see if he gets away with it.
Oh, maybe.
So things are just winding down. They're coming to a head. They're coming to a head. And I just think this Putin thing is so significant. I see it as a move of God. He said, I've given you Americans all the time I'm going to give you, and now I'm going outside of America. And these people in our government, they're totally incompetent. Do you realize we can be in a war with Russia? That's the great danger.
I'm seeing the name Putin. He was put in by God.
Now that Russia is in Syria, and Syria is a north country, and there's so much in the Bible about the north, and I just feel that connection, Israel and the north country.
What is the
I don't
connection?
know, I think from the Bible they say north country.
Well, what about it? What does it mean to you? Because I'm not following it.
Satanic. Satanic. Satanic from the north. They said it was from the north.
That would be too, but I just thought that, well, even in Daniel, you have said about the north, but that's totally different. But I just thought it's significant, the north country, Russia, and they've suddenly taken over the Syria, and.
See, I just have this feeling that, not all, but a lot of the prophecy interpretation that we've been hearing from the carnal church, that it's just not accurate.
No.
So I've told you, I've been telling you for a long time now, I just don't know how it's going. I know Jesus is coming. I know the kingdom of God is coming. I know the enemies will fail. I know that everything that God planned this creation to be is going to come into existence. I know all of that is true. I don't know how it's going to play out in this realm. And when I see Putin rise up like that, in my spirit, it's going to be like nothing we ever imagined, and God is going to be glorified. And I have another thought in my mind with regard to Glenn Beck's position on homosexuality. If you recall that, what Glenn Beck, the show that Glenn Beck did at all, he was really coming against Putin. Putin stood up in so many words, saying he was representing Russia as a Christian nation, saying homosexuality is wrong, this is wrong, introducing sexual morality. And Glenn Beck said, don't you trust him, he doesn't believe any of that stuff, he's just doing it for political gain. Well, what if the man does have some Christian righteousness in him? I think what I'm trying to say is, when I see Putin standing up to say we're going to take out ISIL, they're threatening the whole world and we're going to take them out, I think it's possible that he can that a spirit of righteousness can be appearing in him. Now, that doesn't mean he's a righteous man across the board. Doesn't mean that he's not KGB anymore. But a spirit of righteousness stood up in him and said, no, this caliphate, this ISIS, they're threatening the whole world. They're threatening the whole world unless you're Muslim, and they're even threatening the Shia Muslims, okay? And we're going to take him out. That was a spirit of righteousness. So why couldn't it be that a man that had a Christian upbringing, even though he may be doing everything that he shouldn't be doing, the homosexuality and the sexual corruption that's going on offended him? Maybe he really had a vision that the country is going to go into chaos if you follow what America is doing. Why isn't that possible? Why does he have to be a born-again Christian out there banging his tambourine to stand up and say something righteous, that homosexuality is wrong and that we don't want it in this country? Why can't he just be a man that has a perception that it's bad for the culture, it's bad for the country, it's bad for the world, that it's corrupt? Why can't that be? Why does it have to be an evil motive that he had for doing what he did? Maybe Glenn Beck was right, maybe it was political, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe he has a vision, the country can't continue. And you see, it gets worse, so you accept the homosexuality. Now all of a sudden, whoever heard of transgender? I never heard of it. Now they're telling little children that boys and girls go in the same bathroom together and that they can be whatever they want and marry whoever they want. What is the end of this? See, the powers that are operating, they want to destroy humanity. They hate us. They want to corrupt everything that we are, so that we become so corrupt that God won't have anything to do with us. That's what this is all about. So why isn't it possible that this man got a revelation saying, well, I'm a bad man, I'm a KGB, I have no problem going into Ukraine, doing all of this stuff, conquering nations, but that's just a little bit too much. I'm not going to touch it. Why not? So I watched this movie of Cleopatra yesterday. It wasn't even the Elizabeth Taylor movie. And I wondered why I was watching that one. I'm still not sure. And it showed Caesar, you know. Caesar, I thought Rome in those days was a very interesting phenomenon because they weren't Christian. It was pagan Rome. But they had a Senate, they had liberty, they had equality among men. And when Caesar made himself a god, they killed him. Caesar made himself a god. He declared himself to be a demigod, and they killed him because they were a republic of equal people. And I don't know that much about their politics, but it was for that time in history, and it wasn't Christian. They had some very Christian principles there for a nation that wasn't Christian, and apparently Caesar was, before he lost his mind, you know, and made himself a god. He had some very righteous principles, according to history, anyway. He didn't believe in decapitating his enemies, which I've seen that in a couple of places. In those days, it was not at all uncommon to cut off the head of your enemy. He didn't believe in that. And in this movie, anyway, it showed Cleopatra making a play for him, and he said, you don't have to do that. I don't sleep with any woman that doesn't want me. So he wasn't a rapist. Why can't you have standards of morality? Why do you have to be a Christian to have standards of morality? Why do you have to be a practicing born-again Christian to have standards of morality? It's just not true. Because we all have a little bit of God in us. No matter what nationality you are, what race you are, we all have a little bit of God in us. Unless our mind is completely corrupted, which is what's going on in this country today. I've been talking to you about this for years. I even gave you the account of that movie that I saw where the missionaries broke through into this jungle where the people, they didn't even have houses. These people, they slept in hammocks. They were really primitive, and the guy was mad because the married guy was sleeping with his sister. We all have that spirit of righteousness in us. That's what Paul says. It's written on our heart. We just know that certain things are just wrong. And that destruction.
So he's a human being too.
Right. And that destruction results from a certain kind of behavior. The whole society winds up in destruction. So why couldn't Putin be legitimate, standing up and saying no homosexuality in this country? Why did it have to be a political thing?
When you were speaking about the carbon monoxide coming from humans, it made me think of the words aren't coming to me. The abortion people, whatever they call it, I can't think of the name right now.
Planned Parenthood?
Planned Parenthood and all that. That's another one of their agendas of cutting people off in the world, plus selling of the body parts. They wait till tell the women to wait till they're 16